Welcome back to the Out of Bounds podcast. My name is Gavin Williams alongside
Charlie Caleri.
Man, a little break, but we're back.
We are back, better than ever. But good NFL games last week and this past week. So moving the season along right now. I mean, it's already going to be week 5.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
We're moving
man.
right now.
That's crazy. We're already about a quarter of the way through the season. The first quarter is just about wrapping up, and ready to get the second quarter started. How about you, Gavin?
Yeah, I'm really excited. This season's been pretty exciting. A lot of upsets so far.
Yep,
especially
for sure.
this week. But Charles, I'm gonna let you start. We're gonna do the predictions first, like usual. I'll let you start with the Lions-Packers game.
Yeah. So, I mean, let me just say this: the prediction records after week 4 are, I am up right now. My overall record is 46-18.
Have a week, by the way.
And I went 13-3 this week on my picks.
Have a week.
And Gavin is 40-24 right now on his picks, so 6 games down. But
I think this is my best week statistically, though.
I mean,
I think
11
this is both
11
of
and 5.
I think this is both
11
of our
and
best
5 is a
weeks.
really good record.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know how I ended up with 13-3, but
It was the switch games, man.
here we are, man. Here we are. So, I mean, like I said, first quarter wrapping up. I mean, you got 3 more quarters to make up 6 games, so 2 a quarter.
still
Maybe
time.
send it to OT in week 18.
There's still time.
There is still time. So, getting into your team first, that Thursday night game, Lions at Packers.
Ugh.
I mean, tough Packers lost there, 34-20. Detroit comes out with the win. I mean, it was just a tale of 2 halves. I mean, Detroit was up 27-3 at half, and then it was too little, too late for the Packers. I feel like we've been saying that a little bit too much this season.
We have.
So if they can just start earlier, they can be a really good contending team in that division with Detroit. And, I mean, if Minnesota doesn't pick it up, I mean, Chicago doesn't look to be really going anywhere. I mean, Green Bay could be the second team in that division easily if they just can start quicker in games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming from a Packers fan perspective, this was not a fun game to watch. I'm happy that they're showing so much effort in the second half. I don't care how much they're down. I never turn the game off. And I just love when they fight back. It makes me happy. It makes me proud. I mean, this game didn't really make me proud because it's against a divisional rival. I mean, I wouldn't say too much of a rival. Maybe these upcoming
It's
years.
brewing, for sure.
It'll get more heated and heated. But, I mean, Jordan Love's stats weren't horrible except for the 2 picks he threw. He threw for 246 yards, which was more than Jared Goff's 210. And he also had more completions than Jared Goff as well. Jordan Love had 23. Jared Goff had 19. So on the offensive side of the ball, with the quarterback situation, I think it was Jordan Love, but David Montgomery's 32 carries for 121 yards and 3 touchdowns against Aaron Jones' 5 carries. What are we doing?
I mean, when you have 2 running backs like that, I mean, when you're not giving them the ball, especially with the young QB,
I don't know what we're doing.
You're not going to – I mean, I know they put up points, but, I mean, you're not going to put up as many points as you would with giving them the ball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Detroit using their – I guess David Montgomery being in Chicago for a little bit, playing the Packers, using that experience to go up against another NFC North team. I mean, why wouldn't you throw Montgomery out there? I mean, that's why Gibbs didn't get as much playing time because, I mean, Montgomery went off that game too. I mean, you're not going to play a guy just for the sake of playing him. I mean, Gibbs will get his touches eventually, and everybody will be like, oh, where's Montgomery in this offense? He'll pop back up when they play the Vikings and especially when they play the Bears.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to go off in those games.
Yeah, I mean, great coaching by the Lions. Great coaching.
MCDC, Dan Campbell.
I mean, the Lions, they looked over their film. Packers, not so much. Good win for the Lions. I'll respect that win, but bad loss for the Packers at home. And we got to show out more. Way too many blue jerseys in that crowd. So the next game that happened was in London. It was the Falcons technically at the Jaguars.
In Andy's room.
In Andy's room.
In Andy's room.
And the Jaguars, I mean, they had a great time in London balling out over across the pond. They won this game 23-7. Trevor Lawrence looking more like himself finally. He had 23 completions out of 30 passes, which was great. 207 yards and a touchdown. looking much more like himself, and he's finding his favorite target from last year, Christian Kirk, more than anybody would be expecting. Everybody's like, okay, Calvin Ridley, let's go. Christian Kirk's still getting the ball, ladies and gentlemen. He's still a sleeper in fantasy like he was last year. Great game from the Jaguars, and the Jaguars' defense needed that game against a Falcons team who, except for these past 2 weeks, they've been pretty good on offense, but not this week. Jaguars had a great game, and now that entire division is 2-2.
Wow.
Completely wide open.
Wow.
Completely wide open.
That's great.
It is great.
That's great for that division right there, and for the playoff race in general, honestly, because I mean, we were thinking that that division wasn't going to be, as knotted up, I guess, as it would be, but
I thought it'd be a horrible division.
Here we go.
Yeah,
that's right.
All tied up. We'll see who takes it all in the end.
Speaking of rolling, the Buffalo Bills steamrolled. Can I use steamrolled here?
Absolutely.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Steamrolled the Miami Dolphins this week, 48-20. I am so proud of the Buffalo Bills. This was the game when I went on that rant after that Jets loss. This is the game I envisioned when we played the Dolphins. We had no other way of showing that we are a legit team in the league than, we beat them by 4 touchdowns, and they put up 70 points last week. I mean, who else is going to do that right now? I mean, not a lot of teams would just be like, pack it in. We're on week 5 now. Not the Bills, not Josh Allen, not Stephon Diggs, not even Tyler Bass. 14 fantasy points, by the way. James Cook, great game. We have 9 guys that we can go to at any point and get us yards on the offensive side of the ball. And it's just incredible at this point, watching the offense work and the defense, man, just stepping up at, every play. Matt Milano is everywhere. Tyrell Bernard's been a dog. Even a few plays from Dane Jackson in there last game. And just want to shout out Tre'Davious White right now. Just gruesome, gut-wrenching injury for him. He's a fighter, man. He's a dog. He's out with an Achilles injury for the year.
Gotta get rid of these turf fields. Gotta.
It's just tough, man. Everything that he's been through with his ACL, recovering, finally getting healthy, playing decently well. I know he struggled a little bit this game leading before the injury, but, he had a pick in that Washington game. He's made some key defensive plays even last game. So, obviously when a guy like that with that energy level, with that, leadership on that team goes down, that's always a tough loss. But get better soon, Tre'Davious White. You will be back. We know you will be back. And I don't know, it's a great win by the Buffalo Bills, but we are on to London now. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I also want to mention another injury that happened. David Bakhtiari had surgery and will not come back this season. I want to give all my shout-outs to David Bakhtiari.
A lot of injuries, man.
He's been fighting through it for 3 years now with this knee, and it's questionable whether he even come back to the game of football, but I think he will. So get back and get healthy, David Bakhtiari.
Everybody.
And going back to the Bills, they did indeed squish the fish, but now moving on to the Broncos at the Bears. Oh, boy. Every single week as of right now, I'm so happy announcing that the Bears lost. I love saying that. But Justin Fields had a great game. Looking back at the stats, Justin Fields had 335 yards, 4 touchdowns. He went 28 for 35. He had a pick, though. That was later in the game, but he started off 16 for 16, and he had 4 touchdowns. They were up big to start. But who came back? Russell Wilson.
Mr. Unlimited.
Come on now. 223 yards, 3 touchdowns, completed 21-28. But Jerry Jeudy finally starting to see the ball a little bit. Guy has 8 receptions, 52 yards. And, it was a good game overall. 2 teams that have not won a game yet. But, man, am I glad to say that the Bears are still winless.
Wow.
That makes me happy to say.
And you know what? Moving on now to the other North Division. A game that we thought may be a little bit better, but some injuries got in the way, and it's kind of unfortunate here. The Ravens beating up on the Browns, 28-3 was the final score. we got our first look at Thompson Robinson for the
DTR.
Yeah, for the Browns. Sadly, did not go the way that he probably thought his NFL debut was going to go. 121 passing yards, 3 picks. Not how you want to start a game. I mean, but they were behind the 8 ball from the start. I mean, losing Nick Chubb doesn't help you, obviously, and when your leading receiver in a game is David Njoku, no offense to him because he balled out after having a potentially life-threatening injury a few days before. So good on him for getting out there and battling hard for his team. But Lamar Jackson, he's looked incredible this season so far. He's been probably the most underrated QB in the league so far. And Mark Andrews having a day, 5 receptions, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's a vintage Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson performance right there. And I mean, that Baltimore defense is looking like they're getting it going a little bit too. So look out for the Ravens here in the AFC as in general. I mean, it's wide open right now, so look for them to be in the mix for that 1 seed. And they might be just taking the Bengals spot this year.
Yeah. Moving on to the Bengals now. Oh, my goodness. What are we doing, Cincinnati? I'm predicting them to be top 3 in the whole AFC, and we're losing to the Titans, who have Ryan Tannehill as a starting quarterback. I mean, as of right now, the Cincinnati Bengals have one of the worst offenses in the NFL, statistically, right now. This is unbelievable for Bengals fans. I feel for you guys because.
But Jamar's always open.
He did say
he was always open.
He said it in quote, I'm open. I'm always effing open. And he said sorry for the profanity, but
seems like a nice guy.
He seems like a good guy. I feel bad for Jamar Chase because Joe Burrow, 20 for 30 and 165 yards is not going to cut it. If you want to make it to the Super Bowl or at least the AFC or at least the playoffs, 165 yards for what's supposed to be a top 3 QB is not going to cut it. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, let's look at him really quick. 18 for 25, so had 2 less completions and had 240 yards, so almost 100 yards more.
Wow.
Had a
with
touchdown.
Way worse receivers.
Yeah.
I mean.
Had a touchdown and an interception. Now to the running game. Joe Mixon, 14 carries, 67 yards. It's an all right game. Derrick Henry looking like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean,
that
was a statement game for Henry right there.
22 carries, 122 yards, and a touchdown. Hopkins got the ball this week. 4 receptions, 63 yards. And Jamar Chase still had 7 catches for 73 yards, but for the Joe Burrow-Jamar Chase duo, that should be getting a lot more. That should be, against a Titans defense like this, Jamar Chase should have had at least 120 yards with at least a touchdown. Bad game for the Bengals, great game for the Titans. Bengals are falling down that division quickly. They have to dig themselves out.
Yeah, I agree, and you can tell that Joe Burrow's hurting too on the field. I mean, he just does not look 100%, and I think honestly at this point the Bengals either need to just say, I guess we'll just keep rolling with him, or you got to sit him for more than 1 week because if he's not playing well, you're not going to win games. I mean, if you don't have at least a decent backup quarterback, which they don't, you're not gonna win any games. But transitioning over to one of the better games of the week now, the Los Angeles Rams pulling out an overtime win in Indianapolis, but not before the Indianapolis Colts come back from down 23
to tie
it late in the 4th. Anthony Richardson looks like a franchise QB. I'll say it right now. The Indy crowd looks back into it. They're 2-2. I know they lost the game, but this is a big step for the Colts right here. I mean, that game, watching it, we watched that whole game.
We did.
Watching that game, it felt like the Colts were going to win that game.
I thought 100%.
100% when they went to OT.
Yep.
I mean, even though I think the Rams got the ball first.
They did get the ball first.
Everything that was going on with Matt Stafford, which he looks to be good for next week, which is a great sign for Rams fans, especially with a big game next week in that division because they're 2-2.
Yeah.
So look out for the Rams in that game. We'll touch on that a little bit in a little bit. But, I mean, the Colts, man, they kind of look, I don't want to say legit, but, I mean,
for this division.
With the Jags not playing as well, and, I mean, who knows with that Jags team, they could explode at any second. But who's to say that this Colts team can't either? I mean, that defense doesn't look like they're playing too bad right now. I know, 29 points as a game isn't great, and 23.5 isn't great overall. But, I mean, if they can get to the point where they're letting up around 23 to 20 points every game, they'll give their team a chance to win. And maybe this Colts team could, with all the other teams struggling, maybe they can sneak in as a wild card.
Especially with a little update for the Colts. Jonathan Taylor is practicing this week.
Yeah, that's big too.
That's huge.
He might actually want to stay there now.
Exactly, and now that he sees that this young QB, who I said was going to be the best in the draft, and as right now is the second best right now, because C.J. Stroud, we'll talk about him in a little bit. He's having a great season so far. But Anthony Richardson, he still had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the guy who's been filling in the gap the best for this team has been Zach Moss, and I'm very surprised to say that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, coming from a Bills fan, watching him play, I mean, you could always see little flashes of it, but it just looked like he was going to be a guy that just showed some flashes but never really put it together. I think with the situation we had in Buffalo, it just wasn't great for him. We moved him. I think it was a pretty good trade for both teams.
It was fair.
Before Nyheim Hines got hurt, unfortunately, but it kind of fit both teams pretty well. But Zach Moss looking to really excel he's excelling in that role right now. I mean,
he is.
RB2, I mean, that's a good RB2 to have, especially behind when Jonathan Taylor comes back. So, I mean, you got to look out for this Colts team, man.
And moving on to the other side, Puka Nacua, man. 9 catches.
This guy doesn't stop, man.
Yeah, 9 catches, 163 yards, and a touchdown, which that touchdown was a game-winning touchdown, and surprisingly, his first touchdown of the season. But this guy has 509 yards, already half of 1,000 yards, which 1,000 yards in the NFL is still an amazing season.
In your first 4 games?
In your first 4 games, you have half of that?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's on track to beat both Calvin Johnson and Cooper Kupp's record. And who caused both those records? Matthew Stafford's throwing the ball to him.
He's a gritty player, man.
So if we have a rookie, if this happens, if a rookie beats both their records,
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either. But if that would be amazing.
It's always a chance, man. It's always
so
a
you're
chance.
saying there's a chance.
Yeah, but I mean, he looks incredible right now, and I mean, there's got to be a game where he slows up, right? Got to be one, right?
I thought this would have been the game. I'm not gonna lie, but
could be next week. They got a tough game coming up against the Eagles.
They're playing the Eagles. I mean, that might be the Darius Slay might be like, hey, I got him.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
we'll
figure.
Need to put a stop to this.
That.
Yeah. I guess we'll see though. That's gonna be a good game. We'll touch on that later with our predictions. But moving on right now, we got the Bucs in the Saints game. Gavin, what do you think about this one?
Just want to say I called it. I thought that the Bucs were gonna win. They sure did. Something about the Bucs on the road in New Orleans these past couple seasons. I mean, they just play so great in New Orleans. Going back to Tom Brady, and now Baker Mayfield, man, 25 for 32, 246 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a pick, but this Bucs offense is really figuring out how to use Baker. They're giving him Chris Godwin a lot. Chris Godwin had a great game.
And they should, too. Yeah. I mean, especially with all the, I know Mike Evans is a little banged up right now. So, I mean, they got to rely on a guy like Chris Godwin, who is going to be there longer than Mike Evans, naturally, because he's a younger receiver. So, I mean, you got to lean on him a little bit more if you really want him to be that franchise guy. And really, because it's usually just been the 1-2 punch. It hasn't really been like the Godwin show, I guess I'll call it. But, Baker's looking involved there.
He is, and I mean, I'm really happy for him for finally finding a team that appreciates him, finding a team that's been using him for what he's worth. I mean, Godwin had 8 receptions, 114 yards, and Derek Carr not looking like Derek Carr. I mean, well, maybe last season's Derek Carr.
He was banged up a little bit in that game too, though.
Yeah, he had 23 passes or 27. He had 37 passes and only completed 23 of them, and only had 127 yards. And Slant Boy got the ball a couple times, 4 receptions, 53 yards. Kamara made his return, 11 carries for 51 yards. They're going to start. This offense will click. The Saints offense will click once they get Kamara back in there, and Slant Boy will get going. Chris Olave will get going. That'll be a great rematch later in the season, but Bucs take this one. They're 3-1. Watch out for the Bucs right now. They're leading the division. Man. That's going to be a fight for the Bucs to keep this momentum going.
You know what team that we should kind of be looking out for a little bit?
Who?
The Washington Commanders, man. I know they lost, but overtime loss in Philly. I mean, you're never satisfied with the loss, but if your 2 losses right now are to the Bills and the Eagles, can't really complain.
Taking the Eagles to overtime.
And taking the Eagles to overtime in Philly. I mean, the Washington, something about them playing in Philly is like playing it's like the Bucs playing in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So, really good bounce back game here for Washington, especially for Sam Howell. I mean, what a performance he had, a gutsy drive at the end.
That was a great last drive.
To tie the game with no time remaining. Jahan Dotson with that touchdown. But
I still think they should have gone for 2.
It's questionable call at that point. But, you can look at it the other way. If they don't get that, what's all this work for?
Yeah.
If they get it, knock off the team. I mean, I don't know. That's always going to be the age-old question of what to do.
It's a hard decision.
Terry McLaurin, he's just proving he's still an unbelievable receiver in this league. Brian Robinson, he's a solid back.
He runs like he is hell on wheels.
Yep. And Jalen Hurts, just unreal again. 319 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown, 175 receiving yards.
That was awesome for my fantasy team.
And 2 touchdowns.
Sorry, Matthew Bailey. I know you're listening, but A.J. Brown helped me beat you too. So,
just the Eagles look like they're clicking right now, man. But going on the road in L.A. against the Rams next week, we'll see what happens there. Washington, they are playing on Thursday at home against the Bears. We'll touch on both of those in a little bit. But right now, I want to talk about this was a revenge game. It was a revenge game for none other than Adam Thielen, but they still lost. They still lost. The Vikings coming out with their first win of the season. Now they're 1-3, beating the 0-4 now 0-4 Panthers, 21-13. Let me say this: Kirk does not look good at all this season, man. And
doesn't look like
I'm a Kirk backer. I'm a Kirk fan. I don't really know how you feel about Kirk being in the division. I'm sure
I loved him in college.
Yeah, I mean, going to Michigan State. I assume that. I mean,
I like
he's a likable guy.
Too.
You got to admit, he's a likable guy.
You can't dislike.
You can't hate Kirk, but
you can bust his chops, but you can't hate him.
Justin Jefferson, great performance, a little bounce back game for him.
That was good for my fantasy team too.
2 touchdowns, but this was a game that we saw Bryce Young really take that step. I think. I mean, he looked decent. I don't want to say he looked great, but I mean, I know he threw a pick 6 in there.
Yeah.
Or a fumble 6, whatever.
That was a costly turnover.
It was a costly turnover in that game and turned out to be the difference in the game ultimately. So that's the little things with the Panthers they just got to figure out. I mean, winning the turnover battle, playing situational defense a little bit better. I mean, that's a young team, but they got to get something going. They got to get a win under their belt eventually. But the Vikings really, I mean, that's a big win for the Vikings right there. You can't start off 0-4, obviously, but moving in the right direction at 1-3. This is a team that could still definitely make the playoffs for sure. So they're going to be a sneaky team for the next few weeks. But, I mean, once that mid-season point hits, look for the Vikings to be right back in the thick of things in the NFC as a whole. Moving on now to, I'm going to let you take this one, Gavin, because I just don't really know how to feel about this game. Steelers-Texans.
Yeah, so we go from an all-NFC matchup like Charles was talking about to an all-AFC matchup. The Steelers at the Texans with a great tribute to J.J. Watt. That was awesome, especially going against the team that his brothers play for. And, I mean, the story of this game, C.J. Stroud. 16 for 30, 306 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dameon Pierce, 24 carries, 81 yards. Nico Collins, 7 receptions, 168 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
That's my guy, man. That's my guy.
As of right now, the best QB in this draft is C.J. Stroud. He is 4th in the entire NFL for passing yards.
No picks yet.
No picks. 6 touchdowns, 0 picks, 1,200 yards. I mean, that's just amazing. His completion percentage is a little okay. It's only 62, but the yards back that stat up. And the wins are backing that stat up because, like we mentioned earlier, the entire division is 2-2. Very open division. Texans are a sneaky team in this division. I don't know how I'm saying that. In the beginning of the season, I would have said I was crazy for saying that. But I'm really proud of this Texans team. And if you're a Texans fan, let's go. Giddy up. I mean, even C.J. Stroud said in the interview after the game, he said, I want Texans fans to have something to look forward to.
Have pride in your team.
That's what it's all about. He's giving the fans. And I love what he's given the fans. I mean, we'll talk about the Texans in a little bit. But great win from the Houston Texans to stomp absolutely stomped. It was 30-6. They beat the Steelers at home in the Battle Red uniforms.
Those
Giving
are
a tribute to
clean.
J.J. Watt. That was just that was a story game for the Texans to win, and they did it.
All right, let me just touch on this game a little bit before I go on to the next one. A little bit of news breaking right now from Adam Schefter.
Whoa.
About one of these teams. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin told reporters that Kenny Pickett has a bone bruise on his knee. The QB will practice a little bit on Wednesday, and the team will evaluate whether he can play on Sunday versus the Ravens. So if the Steelers, I mean, they're already struggling enough on offense, and this is just not a good sign for them. That's something to look forward to, or not look forward to, but look at throughout this week, whether Kenny Pickett will play or not, because, I mean, they need all the help they can get on offense. And if you don't have your starting quarterback out there, it's going to be tough.
Is Mason Rudolph going to take over?
I don't even know, man. They're just struggling on offense right now. Matt Canada is just not the guy. They need to get him out. They just can't move the ball at all. Moving on to interesting game this week. Raiders at Chargers.
It was a pretty good game.
Pretty good game. Chargers coming out with the win 24-17 over the Raiders. And this was a big game for both these teams. They came in the game 1-2. Chargers now 2-2. Back to 500. This is massive for this Chargers team.
That was huge.
Clean slate now. I think you got to just play the rest of the season however you want to play it, and you just got to have a winning record, I guess, at this point. I mean, if they can still get to 10 wins, I feel like that's enough to maybe get in the playoffs at the 6th seed, like we predicted.
Yep.
Like we predicted. I didn't think they were going to lose. I think they maybe be 3-1.
Yeah.
After the first 4 weeks, but good for this Chargers team getting back on track. But I want to point this out. Aiden O'Connell played a pretty nice game for his NFL debut.
He did.
I mean, they didn't know he was going to start until how many days before the game?
2 or 3.
2 or 3. So going in there, throwing for 238 in a battle against Justin Herbert, who, I mean, we'll see how he does in this progression for this week with his hand injury. He should be good to go, but something to always look for with quarterbacks like that. I mean, both these teams they look like they just struggle at times, like really, really bad. But at other times, they look like they could be really explosive offenses. And it's weird, man. They're both just very inconsistent right now. So I'm sure I think this is a game where you can come out and say both these teams are going to be better after this game, just because it was such an even matchup, I guess, at this point in the season. So good for the Chargers. They're getting that win, big divisional win for them, because if they lose that game, you're 1-3 and you're looking up at the Raiders and you're tied with the Broncos. That's not where you want to be.
Yeah.
Especially in a division with the Chiefs, who they're going to win games. So big win for the LA Chargers. Right there.
And I just want to point out 2 things. That this win is so important for the Chargers too to get healthy, because they have a bye week coming up. We'll mention more about that in a little bit. But Justin Herbert, with the last throw on a 3rd and 10 to seal the game, what a great throw.
Yeah.
A great first down to Everett.
He couldn't, I mean, he had to be in pain too, right? I mean, you got to imagine, I know it's not his throwing hand, but still, I mean, having that full brace on your left hand when you're trying to battle through even the mental part of a clutch drive that they had to have, and you got this nagging injury on your other hand that's not even involved in the play, that's got to be messing with you. And for him to battle through that, get it to Everett, win the game. I mean, that's what you want out of your franchise QB right there.
Absolutely. So moving on to another 4:25 matchup, which should have been a 1 o'clock, so the country didn't have to watch this game. The Cowboys played the Patriots at home, and a historic win for the Cowboys, because this is Bill Belichick's worst point differential in a game ever.
If you thought the Bills steamrolled the Dolphins, the Cowboys double steamrolled the Patriots.
Yeah, the final score of this one was 38-3. Mac Jones is not looking like the franchise QB. Looks like they should start tanking for Caleb Williams right now. Gonna put that out there.
Wow.
And Colin Cowherd also said on his show that Patriots aren't too happy right now, Mm-hmm. And so Dak Prescott had a good game. 28 out of 34 passes completed, 261 yards and a touchdown. Mac Jones, on the other hand, 12 for 21, 150 yards with 2 picks, one of them being a pick six. And, I mean, this Patriots team's getting really banged up. We just got a report today that Matthew Judon, their star defensive end, is going to be out for likely the rest of the whole season.
We got to stop with these injuries, man. I mean, it's getting really bad. It's getting really bad.
Christian Gonzalez got hurt, too. He separated his shoulder. This Patriots team's only getting more injured, and Cole Strange didn't even play in this game. A lot of these Patriots players aren't playing. They're getting too hurt. That's where my mindset comes in. Go get Caleb Williams, baby.
I mean, you might as well at this point. I'm assuming they have their pick. I don't really know what
yeah, I think they do.
They haven't really made too many first-round trades recently, so I'm just assuming they have their pick, but I never even thought about – you don't think about the Patriots tanking for anything. But,
no.
This is probably a year where you should say, hey, I mean, it's a big difference between Mac Jones and Caleb Williams at this point. So, especially in that division, they got to do something to get ahead of the Dolphins and the Bills and even the Jets at this point.
Yeah, and also talking about the Cowboys, big win for them, obviously, to make them 3-1 because they have a hard game this week. We'll get back to that. That will be the Sunday night game
against the Niners.
Who great rivalry, and there's a 3-1 team versus a 4-0 team. That's gonna be exciting. But speaking about the Niners,
one of the better primetime games coming up. We got next week we got Cowboys at Niners, but this week we had the Cardinals at the Niners, and I mean, I'll touch on the Cardinals first. I mean, this team battles, man. I mean, they're not good. We know that. But they're a gritty team, and they're going to fight until the end. And this is going to be a team, and I think we said this after we talked about this. We didn't talk about this on the podcast, but how beating the Cowboys last week, you can just tell this is a team that's going to be upsetting teams. You can't count them out every week like you might be able to do with the Bears or maybe even a Patriots at this point.
Or Panthers at this point,
yeah, Panthers, but I mean, the game was close for a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. But Christian McCaffrey overall just took over the game. 20 carries, 106 yards, 3 touchdowns. Brock Purdy, ready for this? 20 for 21, 283 passing yards, and a touchdown.
I think that
one incompletion.
As of right now, Brock Purdy is acting like a top 5 QB in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's legit.
I think he's very legit.
After last year, I was very hesitant. I mean, obviously, when the only loss that you've ever had in your career
was the NFC
Championship when you got hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, you're having a pretty good career right now.
And Mr. Irrelevant, too.
This is a big game coming up for Brock Purdy. Yes. Not even just for the Niners or in the NFC seeding. This is a big game for Brock Purdy because if he can go out there and beat up on this elite Cowboys defense, he's legit, man.
And that will be a game of 2 great defenses that we'll talk about in a little bit.
I didn't even touch on Brandon Ayuk either. 6 receptions, 148 yards, and they're not even using George Kittle. They're barely using George Kittle.
Debo's not getting as many either.
Debo's not getting touches. This offense is scary.
I think Brandon Ayuk is the wide receiver 1 secretly.
Yeah, for sure.
It should be Debo,
for sure.
But it's not.
I mean, I don't think you can really dispute that Ayuk is the number 1. I know last year it was kind of a 1A, 1B situation, but I think it's fully in the hands of Brandon Ayuk now.
Yeah. But I like the way that they use Debo to switch the defensive schemes to make them think different.
I mean, anytime you have Shanahan on your offense, or
he's gonna make it
in
fun.
The play calling. I mean, he's gonna make it fun. He's gonna make it hard for defenses to read. So that's gonna be something that 49ers offense versus Cowboys defense matchup next week is gonna be amazing. So we'll touch on that game in a little bit, even though we just touched on it a little bit now. But the Sunday night game.
Surprising game.
The Chiefs only winning by 3 against the Jets, 23-20. This was a massive game for the Chiefs.
It really was.
And a tough game for Patrick Mahomes. He played arguably the worst game statistically of his career, which is crazy to say after throwing for 200 yards and a touchdown. I know he had the 2 picks in there, but Zach Wilson, man, 2 really good games, 2 really bad games. What side's he going to be on? Is he going to be a good quarterback? Is he going to be a bad quarterback? Is he going to be just a mediocre quarterback? We don't know. He's probably the most inconsistent player in the league right now.
Yeah.
or at least skill position player in the league that's the most inconsistent. But this Jets team, if Zach Wilson can put it together, this Jets team can potentially make a run for the 6 or 7 seed.
Yeah, I mean, if Zach Wilson played like he did on that Sunday night,
yeah.
I don't think I'd be too surprised if they snuck in as the 7th seed.
Not at all, especially because their defense is still, I mean, one of the better ones in the league, probably top 10 around there.
Yeah, I'd say that.
They're a very solid defense.
CJ Mosley, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's incredible. Special. He's incredible, man. I mean, I think he had upwards of 10 tackles this week.
And an interception.
And he's just everywhere on the field. So, guys like that. On the other side for the Chiefs, coming out with the win, Pacheco, man. He reminds me a lot of Nick Chubb. And I'm glad at least the NFL has a guy in Nick Chubb's absence where we can look at him playing and be like, this is good to see. That we got another guy in the league that can run like him.
He's a north-south running back. He's not east-west running back.
He's probably one of the only players on the Chiefs that I actually really enjoy watching.
Yes.
I hate that team in general, but Pacheco is a guy. He's a Big Ten guy, Rutgers guy.
Rutgers. He played in his home state.
Yeah, I can get behind Isaiah Pacheco a little bit.
I can too. I really like him. I mean, I love that he defends himself. He defends his teammates. If there's a little beef, he's always there.
He's always there. He seems like a great teammate. He's going to be a great leader for that team. He's a young player right now, but he's already a leader on that team. So great things to see for the Chiefs right there.
That offense is obviously still scary.
And a good game for the Jets overall too.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a game where you can look back and say, "Hey, we lost this game, but this is easily a game that could have turned into a win for us if we just made one stop. If they made one stop in that game, or a few,
or if that holding call
questionable penalty calls go their way, but that's something that you can't just really throw out there and say they would have won the game or really would have changed anything. But who knows?
And something I'd like to point out as well, Robert Saleh, man, that guy's. He would do anything for his team. I mean, the amount of times in that last 2 minutes that he was up in the ref's face screaming his head off, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a generic Dan Campbell. Call him that. I mean,
he's just a more jacked
He's a motivational. Guy. I don't know, man. I think Dan Campbell might be more jacked than Robert Saleh.
They both are huge.
They're both big guys.
Yeah, actually, when I say
that. And McVay, I'll point that out, too.
McVay's a sneaky.
McVay's sneaky, man. That long sleeve he was wearing in Indy last week.
I mean. But Robert Saleh, I mean, he would go just like Dan Campbell. Like he would go to war with his team. He would be in the middle of the war, just like Dan Campbell.
For sure, he'd be at the front of the line.
Yep,
front of the line,
just like Dan Campbell. I mean, I see a lot of similarities, but I think Dan Campbell's obviously a better head coach. But I still like Robert Saleh, and something he said after the game. He said, "If Zach plays like this every week, we'll win a lot of football games."
Yeah, and I think players are starting to realize that Zach Wilson can be a legit QB in this league
if he just keeps it up.
Guys like Chris Jones, I don't know if you saw that after the game, but with that one reporter, he was backing Zach Wilson. The guy was trying to bash him, called him garbage on national television, which is that's unacceptable.
Absurd.
Unacceptable as a journalist. I don't really know much on that guy's background, but I've watched him. I've seen him. Apparently, he apologized to Zach Wilson the next day. Yesterday. So as he should. You should never go on national TV and bash an athlete for their, quote, poor play, even though they would destroy anybody else in the world. So props to Chris Jones there for sticking up for a guy that's not even on his team. He's a great leader.
He's a great
No
guy.
need to even mention that. But just overall game in weird situation there a little bit.
Yeah, so, I mean, back-to-back games in MetLife. Again. So now we're on the Monday night game. Seahawks at Giants, which, and this claimed my fantasy win over Matthew Bailey with Kenneth Walker, Michigan State legend, and DK Metcalf both getting touchdowns in this game. With a banged-up Geno Smith, Drew Lock had a nice drive.
Wow, Drew Lock, man.
Drew Lock showed that he could be a backup for what reason Geno has to go down. He could be a reliable backup.
Maybe.
Daniel Jones just looking like rookie Daniel Jones again. This is unbelievable. I knew the Giants should have never given this deal, this contract, and he still got it for no reason. I mean, he puts up 200 yards. Yeah, that's cute with 2 interceptions, one being a pick six.
I mean,
he can do it on his feet. I mean, he was a leading rusher for this whole team.
The Giants being 1-3 and their one win being against Arizona, and they had to come back down 28 to do it. It's just not a good look for this team.
This isn't the same Giants team we saw last year.
It's not at all. I don't even want to talk about the Giants. They look terrible. Daniel Jones looks terrible. They need to fix a lot of things.
They need Saquon back ASAP.
It's not even Saquon, dude.
But
they need everything. They've tried to draft O-line. They tried to address everything. It just doesn't work out for them.
And their O-line's getting hurt.
But I want to point out the Seahawks here. I mean, we're not giving them enough credit. They are 3-1 right now,
and they're playing a great season so far.
Great football.
Yes.
I mean, they had Jamal Adams in for one drive, and now he's back injured. Another
Concussion.
Guy that
can't catch a break.
And he can't catch a break. But I don't want to say he does it to himself. But he's not the smartest player. You can't be diving at knees with your head. But get well soon, nonetheless. But this Seahawks team, they could be a team that people were writing off last year.
But they ain't right back.
And we did not write back. The Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith moving to 3-1.
I'm really proud of this team. I just
very proud of that team. Devin Witherspoon.
What a game.
What a game.
What a game.
He's making a case for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
That was my Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Was it your pick?
Yeah.
Was that your pick?
That was my pick.
I mean, what a pick right there. So
if he keeps doing what he's doing,
yeah,
Devin, you're giving me all the bragging rights in the world.
But they need to find more cohesiveness on offense, or else they're not going to be able to. I mean, putting up 24 on the Giants is not really great, but
if they want to hang with the Niners in their division, they're going to need to put up some points.
Yeah, and I don't know when the Niners and Seahawks play, but I'm hoping I'm assuming it's going to be on prime time, and I hope it is.
That better be,
especially when they play the Rams too, because that division's shaping up to be way better than people thought.
Yeah,
so something to look out for there. Now, shifting weeks. Week 5 is here. Teams on a bye. We'll start that before we get into the games. Cleveland Browns are on a bye. Good for them.
Who need it? Because for Deshaun Watson.
Chargers, they need it.
Especially because of Eckler.
The Seahawks team, they're on a bye. They don't necessarily need it.
Geno needs it.
I know Geno definitely does need it, but they're kind of hot right now.
They're hot. They have a lot of momentum.
To keep playing.
Yeah.
And the Bucs, who definitely probably don't want to bye right now.
I mean, they're hot. They want to keep playing.
But good for them maybe getting a little bit of rest early in the year.
Yeah.
So those 4 teams are on a bye this week. Thursday night game this week, Bears at Commanders. Gavin, who do you got?
I got the Commanders. Come on.
I have the Commanders too. I don't know, man. I mean, until the Bears win a game, I probably will not pick them.
I'm the same way.
So, and even if they do win a game,
it depends.
Probably won't pick them.
Yeah.
So
go Commanders.
But the Commanders are a solid team, and I'd probably pick them against most of the teams in the league right now.
If they play like how they played against the Eagles last week,
anybody except the Bills.
Yeah, I see the Commanders winning this game by 20.
Definitely could, for sure. Moving on across the pond, Jaguars, quote, at Bills on Sunday at 9:30. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to wake up on Sunday morning to watch Bills football.
That must be great for you.
It's going to be great. I got the Bills winning this game.
I do too.
Can't pick against them
this is a revenge game for the Bills right here.
But let me mention this. 2 things to point out. Last time we played the Jags, only put up 3 points. The game was 9-3, one of the toughest losses of that season. And the only time that the Bills, I believe, ever played in London, we also lost to the Jags. So something to look out for there. Tyrod was our quarterback at the time. I remember that game. But nonetheless, I got the Bills in this one.
Yeah, I did too.
Texans at Falcons. This should be a very interesting game because one team is, I would say the Texans are a worse team than the Falcons, but
they're clicking.
They're clicking, and the Falcons are just not. So with that being said, I'm picking the Houston Texans this week.
So am I.
In Atlanta. You are too.
I'm also picking the Houston Texans.
Wow.
I'm liking C.J. Stroud way too much right now.
Yeah, I mean, as a Michigan fan, it's tough to watch him. I don't want to say succeed because you want to see people succeed, but he's playing at the same level he was playing at Ohio State.
Yeah.
There's been no drop-off. Good for this guy.
Yeah, I'm proud of him.
I'm rooting for him, too.
I am, too.
I am rooting for him in that
especially being at the Texans.
That offense is fun. I've been saying it.
Yeah.
I've been saying it since the first prediction episode. This is a good offense, and, my guy Davis Mills just getting lost in the shuffle there, but
he'll play his role as a backup.
He will be back eventually, potentially the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots next season, Davis Mills. Panthers at Lions is the next game.
2 cat teams.
I'm going the Lions, though.
I'm going the Lions as well.
Yeah, MCDC's not going to let somebody, especially the Panthers,
and a rookie QB,
come into Detroit and win that game.
I really like the Lions on a lot of home games this year.
Yeah.
I don't like Ford Field. I think they have to have grass or something to prevent a lot of injuries there, especially like Von Miller. But it's a home field advantage at the end of the day. And their crowd's crazy. I mean,
when they get into it, I mean, any Detroit, I mean, I know they struggled a lot recently with their teams, but look at the other day, showing up for Miggy in his last game. Do you see that with all those cards they had over their head?
Yep.
Spelling out Miggy, 24, 3,000 hits, 500 home runs, all these accolades he had. They showed out for their team, the Detroit Tigers, who are one of the worst teams in baseball.
Horrible.
And, I mean, this Lions team is good now, so they're rocking Ford Field, and Ford Field is looking to be a tough place to play this season.
The boys are buzzing. Yeah. I got the Lions.
I got the Lions, too. Titans at Colts, another place that is getting to be rocking in a big AFC South matchup right here.
That's a huge game.
Who do you got?
I have the Indianapolis Colts.
I do as well.
Shout out Ian Kennedy.
Shout out to Ian Kennedy. I mean, that's a big game for the Colts right there. And, I mean, these two teams do not like each other.
No.
They don't.
And Anthony Richardson, I think this is his game. This is his first bounce-back game where he's going to earn it.
The only thing that I'm hesitant about is Derrick Henry versus AFC South teams.
Yeah.
He destroys divisional opponents.
It's embarrassing.
So
it's
that was
Derrick Henry versus Anthony Richardson, in my opinion.
That was the only reason why I was considering the Titans in this game, but I don't think they can put back-to-back wins together.
Especially against a Colts team that's sneaky.
A sneaky team. Gritty team, and they're hungry.
Yep. Next game we have the Giants at the Dolphins.
I'm just going to...
I'll kill the bird.
Yeah.
The 2 stones here.
Yeah.
Dolphins are steamrolling this game.
Yeah, it's not going to be good. But that's what we said about that Cardinals-Cowboys game before.
That's true.
Before we took a little bit of a break there. So who knows, but I don't really anticipate the Dolphins losing this game.
And they need a bounce-back game, and this is a perfect bounce-back game.
Yeah. Saints at Patriots. I got the Saints.
I do too. I mean, the Patriots.
So we have all the same picks right now.
I mean, playing away at the Patriots is it's never easy, but with the too many injuries, I don't like it. Saints, Derek Carr, hopefully more healthy this week.
Yep.
I see the Saints winning this game.
Ravens at Steelers, a big AFC North. I love this rivalry. Here. We love AFC North games on the Out of Bounds podcast. I have the Ravens going into Pittsburgh winning this game.
I do too.
The Steelers are too banged up right now, man, especially with Kenny Pickett potentially being out. Doesn't look like he's going to be out, but he's definitely going to be banged up.
Yeah.
So, Ravens there. This is a game right here. Eagles at Rams. This is definitely one of the better games of the week, I think. A sneaky game of the week.
Especially if Matthew Stafford gets a little bit more healthy this week.
Yeah, who do you got?
I have the Eagles.
You have the Eagles? I'm going with the Rams here. I got the Rams. I believe in this team. I think the Eagles are due for a loss.
They are due for a loss.
Tough game last week against Washington, and I don't think many teams are going to be undefeated. Like, I know the Niners are undefeated right now, and we'll get to my prediction for them later. But I don't think many teams are going to be undefeated after Week 6.
Yeah, this is going to be
any.
This might be a year in the NFL where it's going to be a lot of 10-7 teams.
It's going to be a good playoff race here.
Yeah,
for sure. But I got the Rams in this game. I think that, which would give them the tiebreaker over the Eagles. I mean, they both be 4-1, and that would just be a massive game and a massive win.
Okay.
For the Rams. Yeah.
So the next game is the Bengals at the Cardinals, and I pick the Bengals every week, and I'm still going to pick them this week.
You're picking the Bengals?
I am picking the Bengals.
I'm also picking the Bengals. I
just can't pick the Cardinals
right now. Cardinals right now, man. And, I still sort of believe in this Bengals team.
I do, too, for some
if they lose this game...
I don't know if I'll pick them for another game the rest of the
I don't know, man. Yeah, they have to win this game.
This is a must-win for the Bengals.
Big difference between 2-3 and 1-4 is a big difference, so they need to win this week.
They have to stop playing catch-up.
Yep, for sure. Jets at Broncos.
I think this is going to be a good game.
I think it's going to be a better game than people think.
Who do you have?
Who do you have?
No, I asked you first.
I'm switching my pick. I'm going with the Denver Broncos here.
I have the Jets.
You have the Jets? I'm switching mine. I'm switching mine to the Denver Broncos right now. I had the Jets written down, but now that I'm thinking about it, man, I don't know, something about Russ, man. He's cooking right now. This Jets team is so inconsistent. They've only shown that they can be good primetime at home.
Against good teams.
So road at 4 o'clock against a bad team.
I think this is Zach Wilson's game. I'm going to say it right now. Jets fans, listen out. I think this is Zach Wilson's game where he's going to beat Mr. Unlimited.
And I don't want to say this too early because it's only week 5, but both these teams being 1-3, whoever loses this game is most likely not going to make the playoffs this year.
I agree.
So, I mean, both these teams are essentially playing for, I don't want to say their playoff lives
spot.
Yet, but
in the hunt.
Yeah, this is a big swing game for both of these teams.
Absolutely.
One of the better games of the week coming up here, Chiefs at Vikings. Hopefully the Vikings can bounce back a little bit, but
nah, I don't want.
I still have the Chiefs winning.
I don't want them bouncing back. I want the Chiefs to win by at least 3 scores.
I wouldn't love that, but I mean, I hope the Vikings come out with this one, but I just can't justify picking them right now, especially over a Chiefs team who just battles to get wins. Apparently, it's not usually their brand of football, but that's what they're doing right now. So, and they're rolling.
Yeah, and what could be the
game of the year?
Yeah, game of the year so far.
Could be. Oh, so far it's definitely game of the year.
And let's think about this. The last time the Cowboys played the 49ers, Zeke Elliott snapped the ball to Dak Prescott. I got the Niners here.
Yeah, I also have the Niners here, which it would have been tough for us to split on this one, but I mean the only reason why I have the Niners because they're at home.
They're rolling,
and their offense looks incredible. But with that being said, running into this defense, I mean,
this is a swing game as well.
Who say that Dan Quinn can't draw something up to stop McCaffrey? I mean,
yeah.
It's been done before. I mean, he's seen McCaffrey a lot, being from the Falcons system, being their head coach, seeing McCaffrey in that division in Carolina. Who's to say that Dan Quinn can't be the guy to stop McCaffrey? But if you stop McCaffrey, you still got to stop Ayuk, and after that, you got to stop Debo. And if you stop all 3 of those guys, you still need to make sure you can stop George Kittle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Brock Purdy, I think he's still going to be undefeated.
I think he
in
is
his
too.
career when he's healthy.
Yep.
So, that game there. And the Monday night game, Packers at Raiders. I'm going with the Raiders.
I'm going with the Packers. This is
no surprise there.
This is the Packers' first game against Davante Adams since he's been away from the team. Now, there's one crucial part about this game, in my opinion.
It is.
Jair Alexander's hurt. He might come back. He's questionable right now. If he comes back, it's a Monday Night Football game, and get your popcorn ready. I don't care that it's Monday, guys. Let's go. That's going to be a matchup to watch.
It is for sure, and that's mostly the reason why I have the Raiders because they have Davante Adams, and I think O'Connell. I mean, his first home start, if he's playing, if Garoppolo's not back by then, I'm looking forward to watching this kid play in primetime.
And something I'm excited for too is I think we're going to learn from our mistakes, and we're going to run the damn ball this week.
I hope so for you guys. I mean, I would say I'm probably rooting for the Packers in this game. I will always root for an NFC team over an AFC team. But especially because Gavin Williams will be in the 716 in Buffalo.
I will.
This weekend, upcoming weekend. So we will be watching the game with him.
Probably sweating my nutters off.
Monday night. So, I mean, that's a big game right there for the Packers, especially in a tight NFC race.
And they need to win. This is a must-win game for the Packers. It has to be. Because after this game, the Packers are going into a bye week. This is the time to get a win. You need this win on the road, get some confidence back, go into the bye week, come out strong.
Yep. And
Jordan Love needs a game too.
With that being said, I'm ready for week 5, man.
So ready. I'm so pumped for this week.
Yep. It's going to be a good one. Keep spreading the word, guys, about the Out of Bounds podcast on our Instagram.
At Out of Bounds Podcast with a dot in between every single word.
Yes, there is. Also on our YouTube, same thing. So, keep watching us on there. Comment on the videos, things you want to see upcoming. MLB playoffs are starting soon. Today, actually.
Yeah.
NBA season right around the corner. A lot of news there. NHL season right around the corner. And college football still going on. We got a busy slate right now, folks. And we got some other things, cooking behind the scenes a little bit. So stay tuned for that. So thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Have a day.